The senior Zach Whittier looking for a shooting lane, works it up top. Bryce Ford, the grad student, transfer from Fairfield. Matthew Keegan out there in the midfield. He's a transfer. Two-year starter on attack at Binghamton, America East's leading goal scorer a couple years ago. Whittier left side, and it's 1-0 Terps, less than a minute in here in Princeton. Zach Whittier, the senior, with his second of the season.
Well, as they say, kind of take what the defense gives you, and Whittier just saw green grass ahead of him. No slide comes from the crease, and Whittier just takes it with the left hand and a nice fundamental bounce shot to beat Craddock to put the Terps up 1-0. We talk about Princeton wanting to take. We go. Keep an eye on the wings as we talked about pregame. McMeekin did not have the percentage he wanted. Last year, he was a key part of Princeton's success. Not only winning faceoffs, but he was an offensive threat. The amount of times he would win the faceoff, go down and score.
McMeekin last year, 55%. That was the first time in over a decade the Tigers had finished the season above 50% of the faceoff X. And you talked about the offensive prowess. 8 goals as a faceoff man. That was second in the nation, and the Tigers get the quick equalizer. That's Tucker Wade, the sophomore in the midfield, and we're tied at 1.
Well, if you can't take the early lead, you've got to tie it quickly, and that's exactly what Tucker Wade does. He takes what the defense gives him. The slide is late, beats the short stick with the left hand, and again, the bounce shot, taking it back, dangerous and get on a roll. So sometimes you have to leave that one-on-one matchup at the midfield and hope you can make the stop there.
Face-off violation against Keithler, so the Tigers awarded possession, and that's one of the rule changes this year. They got rid of the man up after 3 face-off violations and a half, but if you're whistled for a violation, you're not allowed to take the next one.
And that's huge because the face-offs, we talked about it being a 3-on-3 matchup, but let's be honest, it comes down to that one-on-one matchup. Who can jump that whistle and get the advantage?
Colin Burns, number 0. Nate Kabiri, who was held without a point last week. Across the front of the crease, and the Tigers have a 2-1 lead. That's Colin Burns picking up right where he left off after that 4-goal game and the game winner. Or was that Mackesy across the front?
We'll take a look. Mackesy, below goal line extended, gets to the strong left hand, dives above goal line extended, launches from outside the crease, does not land in the goal mouth. The goal count.
The importance of the face-off X. Maryland beat Princeton in the regular season, knocked Princeton out of the NCAA tournament. Luke Weirman in those 2 matchups last year won 40 of 49 at the face-off X. He was 71% in his career against the Tigers.
And you talked about the success McMeekin had. His matchup against Weirman was really the outlier in that season.
Nate Kabiri at the top of the box, handoff Sean Cameron. Cameron, the senior, in the midfield. Now Mackesy. Fire, tough angle, and a Princeton goal. Sean Cameron, the senior, to make it 3-1 Tigers here in the first.
What a shot by Cameron. I think he kind of did a double take. Like, am I as open as I think I am? It's a low angle shot. It becomes even more of a low angle when you take that with your right hand. So he really sneaks that past McNaney, and Princeton off to a started his career game 1 with 4 goals.
Maryland has held 3 straight opponents to just 7 goals, so maybe the defense a little bit ahead of the offense. Could not find the last time Maryland played a game prior to the season where they didn't have anyone on the roster who's in their top 60 in career scoring.
Which is hard to believe, and it could be the parity that they have on the team where there's not just one guy kind of tallying up the points. But great defense here from the short sticks, particularly from Princeton. The aggressiveness by Cooper Miller earlier, you saw that, and here he is again, but he gets beat.
Braden Erksa, who's been their leading scorer back-to-back seasons, has his 5th of the season, and it's a 1-goal contest. 5 guys in this game on the Tewaaraton watch list, one of them number 10 for the Terps.
Erksa is a tremendous talent. He's talking about Miller. Take a look here. His stick never gets upfield. The head of his stick is behind Erksa the entire time. Doesn't get it upfield, and then tries.
Which we didn't see last week.
Yeah, Palumbo and Burns behind the cage. And you see Kabiri goes from X, where he isn't traditionally in 6-on-6, to the top of the restraining box here with the ball.
And right on the doorstep, big number 36, the 6'3 senior from Burlington, Ontario, Braden Saris. Settled in the past couple of seasons on that man-up unit from Matt Madelon. First man up opportunity for the Tigers this season. Kabiri thought about stepping in. Plays catch with Mackesy. Here's Mackesy, hands free, and he's got his second. Man up goal for the Tigers with 7:04 to go here in the first.
What a shot by Mackesy. Maryland does a great job of taking away the inside game, but what does that leave? The outside shot. Who's great at the outside shot? Coulter Mackesy. 3-2 Tigers. Too much other than where he's been on the field, but he got above goal line extended, wanted to let one fly.
Nate Kabiri's taken 2 total shots this season as the Tigers with another early turnover. Maryland's got some numbers. Princeton able to get back, so the Terps will wait for the right personnel and settle it down in the midfield. Braden Irk says Keegan joins the fray, the Binghamton transfer.
Another name we haven't said a lot is Mr. Eric Spanos, who we highlighted in the pregame. That's simply because the Terps haven't had a ton of settled possession. What a shot!
Maryland making it a 1-goal contest, and that's Keegan, who had the game winner 2 Saturdays ago down at Loyola. 4-3 the score here in the first.
Talking to the defensive coordinator for the Tigers, Jeremy Hirsch, before the game, and one of the first people he talked about was Matthew Keegan, 6 foot 175. He can let it fly from the midfield with the left hand, beats Croddick.
Suddenly the Terps have a chance to tie it up with 3.5 minutes to go here in the first. Turnover's an issue for Princeton a little bit here today. That's their 3rd or 4th.
See Jackson Green on the field for the Tigers, who scored last week. A huge goal. He's a short stick defensive midfielder. Also is on the football team here at Princeton.
Was recruited to play football, was a tremendous 3-sport athlete in high school up in Rochester, but was a football recruit, walked onto the lacrosse team. Now he's a starting defensive midfielder and a pretty darn good one. Aiden Atkins, second midfield line, has some space and ties it up at 4. Talk about the depth of this Maryland team. First career goal for the junior from North Palm Beach, Florida.
From Florida, but played at the Salisbury School in Connecticut, so he's played in some cold conditions too, and he's heating up. First career point for number 2, and a big one at.
Put it out of reach last week against Syracuse. 2 transfers and a first-year starter making up that midfield line, Whittier, Ford, and Keegan.
Short stick matchup, Muller, short stick defensive midfielder. Talked about he got beat earlier on a little bit of a risky check. Going to keep an eye on that matchup.
Ford's got a short stick matchup. Muller fighting through the screen. Jump shot, save. Croddick didn't quite see it, and it trickles in over his shoulder. Made the initial stop, but couldn't get it cleanly, and the Terps have a 5-4 lead here early in the second.
Yeah, that looked more like a wiffle ball than a lacrosse ball when it was kind of just hanging up in the air here a couple times. And a fortuitous bounce, and it's Kelly at the end of it coming in.
What, reset it to 80 and then went to 60?
It went 80 for a split second, then down to 60, which is where it should be.
Flag comes in as the Terps try to chase it down. They've got a free possession here. Zach Whittier, the senior. Out in front, Kelly below the defense, saved by Croddick. The putback on the doorstep by Urksa, and it's a 2-goal Maryland lead here midway through the second. Great second effort by the junior.
A nice job of preventing Daniel Kelly from getting it in, but
wiped out by the good goal. We're all leaving, guys. We're all leaving.
So it'll remain 6-on-6 as you hear there. Kelly tries the backhand. It's knocked away. Princeton does everything but gain possession. Had they scooped that up, the whistle sounds. Maryland, you would expect, especially last week, just won, but hasn't gotten in the rhythm in 2025 yet. He's trying, and so far McNaney's had his number.
McNaney now 7 saves for the 6th-year Terp. 8 saves for his counterpart Croddick in his second career start. Princeton has gone cold on offense. Second midfield line runs down for the Terps. Elijah Stovall, the sophomore from Bradenton. Jack Schultz, the freshman from about an hour north of here in Ridgewood. Bouncer, Croddick had a beat on it, but it squibs through. 5 in a row for the Terps, and they have their largest lead of the contest.
You see Croddick tapping his chest saying, "That one's on me." Great job by Schultz. Gets the left hand free, and you're just seeing fundamentals here. Using the turf as they took down number 2 Syracuse, and it was the ground balls that were the difference.
Princeton's scoring drought has eclipsed 20 minutes as the Terps have run off 5 in a row. From down 4-2 to up 7-4 with possession with just over a minute to go in the first half. That is steamed by Whittier. Back behind the cage, Bryce Ford. Working on Cooper Miller, the sophomore. Cutter out in front, and Whittier has his second. 6 in a row for Maryland, and they're doubling up Princeton here in New Jersey, 8-4.
Whittier has got a great left hand that we've seen thus far today. Knows where he is on the field. Barely needs to get his eyes on the cage. Buries it far side against Croddick, who finds himself out of position trying to pick off that pass. And a great job by the Terps of taking advantage of that.
Cross midfield, unsettled situation. Nate Kabiri looking for his first goal of the season. He'll settle it down.
What a job by Burles. That should have been a transition opportunity for Princeton, and his position was perfect to negate a 2-on-1 opportunity.
Burles, the senior from Edgewater, Maryland, one of the few players on this Maryland roster that saw some run against Princeton in the Final Four back in 2022 national semifinal up in Hartford.
Burles, McNaney was there. I mean, what experience. And Burns gets on the board.
Tic-tac-toe out in front. Burns had 4 last week, and what a fade by the junior Chad Palumbo to snap that scoring drought for the Tigers.
We were talking off air during halftime. Kabiri and Burns might have to get going for Princeton to chip away. Burns does get going here in this third quarter, finds himself on the
Half a season ago, led the Ivy League in caused turnovers. Princeton looking for some momentum. Sticks up in the passing lane. Cameron takes some contact. Behind the back from Kabiri. Tigers tuck it behind the cage.
Does that get Kabiri going? Flashes the stick skills. McNaney comes out of the cage. Princeton doesn't have the opportunity to move the ball. There's Kabiri against a short stick.
Nate Kabiri, the number 3 overall recruit last year. 2 in a row for the Tigers, and it's a 2-goal game here in the third. Finally for Nate Kabiri, his first goal in his sophomore season.
Princeton overcomes the unforced turnover, gets the stop on the defensive end, turns it into offense. Kabiri keeps the possession with the behind-the-back pass to keep the play alive, and we'll start with that. Look at this, and then just moves to space, finds the short stick matchup.
Short stick matchup against the sophomore Green. Quickly cycled back to the Fairfield transfer. Ford against Cooper Miller. Ball down on the turf. Keegan keeps it from Maryland. Now Whittier to Keegan. Terps looking for their first strike here in the third quarter. They had a 4-goal halftime lead on the road after they were down by 2 early.
Terps with a lot of movement inside. Kelly and Urksa switching places from X to the crease, trying to find a crease.
Ford, right hand, left hand, gets the bouncer with the shot clock winding down, and Maryland goes back up 3 here in the third. What an individual effort by the grad student transfer from Fairfield, Bryce Ford.
Great job of perseverance, just toughness, getting to the teeth of the defense and finishing past Croddick. Maryland extends their lead to 3, 9-6 Terps. A 3-goal lead for the Terps can feel like a 10-goal lead. So hard to chip away.
Daniel Kelly up top, Jack Schultz looking for a shooting lane against Jackson Green, a couple of talented underclassmen. 20 on the shot clock up top. Ford, the Fairfield transfer. Now Keegan, who had the game winner 2 weeks ago down at Loyola. Out in front, shot wide, was not on Cage, so it'll stay with Maryland, but just 11 on the shot clock.
And Spanos will start with Mulshine on him, kind of that matchup of the day.
Spanos has the slide, has the short stick, and finally finds the back of the net to put the Terps back up 4. That's the matchup Spanos has been looking for all afternoon.
Yeah, the pick was effective. Really nice job there. Schultz just frees him up enough. Jackson Green makes the switch, but Spanos has a full head of steam to get topside against a short start. Just one of the great lacrosse families, especially here in the state of New Jersey.
6 goals on 6 shots today by CJ for the Big Red against a top 15 opponent in Denver. Princeton, man up expires, so the Tigers officially 1 of 3 with the extra man today. And Maryland will go right back to work. The Terps a couple of times have led by 4. They've never led by more than that. Looking to make it 9 consecutive wins in this series against Princeton. Shot, tough angle, and a goal by Matthew Keegan, the senior transfer from Binghamton. Largest lead of the day for the Terps at 5, 11-6.
Great shot by Keegan, sidearm. So mid to low shot, uses the turf and beats Croddick again with the left hand. And for Princeton, those are the shots you're almost going to get into desperation mode early against a team like Maryland because it is so tough. Never mind scoring 5 goals to get 1 against this defense. So you're going to have to take some risks on offense. Hopefully those high risks, if you're a Princeton fan, comes with high reward, but easier said than done against a defense like this.
Nate Kabiri. Now Cameron. Short stick matchup. Didn't look like he had the angle, but Sean Cameron turns the corner and gets one back.
Couple of low angle goals for number 11 today. And a huge spot for the Tigers. You said it, Cody. That's not a high percentage shot. In fact, if that misses, it's one where you're like, not the shot to take in that situation.
George Stamos, a defensive midfielder out there on offense. He'll get it out to the midfield with Ford and then head off to the bench. Now they just can't get Stamos off the field. And Princeton can't get Bonanno off the field, so not a matchup that either team loves. Essentially 5-on-5 lacrosse here in front of the cage of Croddick. Bonanno and Stamos just watching each other out in the midfield on the far sideline.
That makes some more space in the crease.
And Maryland takes advantage, ends up in the stick of Daniel Kelly, 1-on-1. 12-7, Terps on top here in the 4th.
How about the extra pass? It was a high percentage goal right about now. An even higher percentage goal right about now. Dan Kelly, great job, off ball, moves, takes the extra step, right? We talk about low angle goals. Why make it a low angle goal? Get some screens from Mackesy to get his hands free.
Here's Dunphy, fires again, a shot that Maryland got a piece of.
Deflected, but not deflected by the goaltender, so still 44 on the shot clock. It does not reset. Here's Kabiri.
Nate Kabiri shakes his man. Not sure if that got the pipe or Logan McNaney, but it kicks up in the air. Vana comes down with it. Here comes Princeton. Mackesy on the hop. Coulter Mackesy with a hat trick in the home opener. Hat trick in the home opener. And the Tigers back within 4.
Some Princeton alumni celebrating the goal in the stands, but Maryland is so good in settled 6-on-6 defense. When you do have those unsettled opportunities, you have to get shots off. Who better to shoot it than 9?
4-goal Maryland lead. Terps have possession as we creep up on the 3-minute mark.
And you know, you always say how many goals versus how many minutes. 4 goals, 3 minutes. You're going to have to slide early, probably double, take some defensive risks. You've got to force some turnovers or even force some unforced turnovers, right? Get people in some uncomfortable positions if you're Princeton to try to get possession back. Can't sit back and let Maryland just drain the clock.
Jack Schultz camped out in the corner. He'll start his move with 20 on the shot clock. Working against Kramer. Goal is left open, and that should just about do it.
And two Tigers collide.
Looked like Cooper Miller down on the turf, picking himself up. That'll be the second goal of the contest by Schultz, the New Jersey native. Oh, that was Schultz, the goal scorer, colliding with Miller.
Yeah, it was not two Tigers.
Last week to 7. Princeton clears it with just over a minute to go. 5-goal Maryland lead.
1 minute remaining in the second half.
Tucker Wade against Stamos. Maryland with the slide. Wade passes off. Here's Kramer. Quinn Kramer, he's got a brother Carson on the team as well. Kabiri fires and nets his second of the day. 13-9 the score late in the contest.
And again, Princeton, talking about glass half full, getting Kabiri going is huge for Princeton moving forward. They will go as far as Kabiri goes as well. You talk about the cogs in the wheel and the chemistry.